Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Total Financial Hour here on AM 1220 KHTS, also FM 93.1. Got both for you. We're here every Tuesday. This is the Total Financial Hour. My name is Logan, and I'm going to be with you today for the most part. Other hosts will be here in a few minutes. Something about traffic and accidents and whatever. But always sit here talking about your family's financial future and the things that matter and affect your life. No matter what you do as your real job, quote unquote, or your hobbies, everything has money in some form or fashion. So it's important for you, for the hobbies and your real job and whatever, just because everything is affected by it from when you're 5 years old all the way up to 95. Just every day for food, shelter, clothing, just the basics, you need money. So if it's going to be affecting you no matter what, 24/7, better make sure you at least have a handle on your own finances. Not saying you got to be Warren Buffett, not saying you have to be in 24/7 linked to every single website going on about everything for the stock market, this and accounts here and all that. Just your financial, your family, you have to be able to know what's going on. And one way we're seeing this here is from something CNBC is talking about today, is how much that parents are spending on their adult children. We all expected, and it's kind of the normal path, is as a parent, raise your kids, 0 to 18, and then at a certain point they're supposed to be off and free and dealing with, they've grown up, they're on their own. Great. That means that you, from a financial perspective, don't have to deal with them anymore in terms of supporting them. You did your part for 18 years, and they take the baton and keep going. Unfortunately, it doesn't always seem to be going that way. And to the point where most parents are spending twice as much on taking care of their adult children, not 5-year-old, but adult, who are hopefully educated, have a job, all that. So, they're adults, but they're spending twice as much on their adult children as they are on their retirement. I hope your kids aren't your retirement plan, because if that's your goal, then that might be a different story. But for most people and most kids in America who want to be independent, go off, often that means that the parents are hopefully taking care of things on their own. And it's not just, we're not talking parents are taking care of 100% of what the kids are doing, but most of us can see in our own lives, or we know someone, how many kids are on the parents' phone plan, or with insurance, or help with a car payment, and even with something like the rent, or parents helping pay for the house, or kids' apartment, whatever, or even kids still living at home. All of that adds up. Some of the numbers here, just for perspective: parents saved $500 billion is what they spent on their adult children, with only $250 billion spent for elective retirement stuff, as in they chose to add money to the retirement account, not the automatic kind of stuff that happens just for different, like the Social Security. That's not counted here. So groceries is about 10% of that, which is about $54 billion. Cell phones was about $18 billion. And then car expenses, vacations, rental, mortgage payment, different types of housing, student loans. And this $500 billion number isn't even including like further education stuff for grad school, or for weddings, or housing down payments. So they picked a narrow section of what parents are actually paying for, and it's already this huge amount. And we have to wonder why this is. So from a political, cultural standpoint, how common is it for most people to be living, at home? Depending on the age of you and your listeners and people out there, many are already living with multi-generational houses, the sandwich generation, with taking care of parents, and now they're adult kids, or who are still living at home instead of moving out to college. it's tough. And that added financial stress today means it's being taken care of today, but who's taking care of tomorrow? And 10 years from now, 20 years from now, with retirement, we're not looking for, I'm not saying cut your kids out and shove them out on the street with a suitcase and lunch, but we're somewhere in between. If you're taking care of your kids today, and that's certainly an honorable thing, there's a point where enabling could come into play. Depends on your situation. But you certainly have to wonder, at what point are you taking care of someone who's an adult and who should be self-sufficient? And is it going to start hurting you? And this is something that you have to look at with your financial perspective and your situation. If they're there and they're contributing and they're working and or studying, then that's great. But if they're just there on the couch and the video games and sucking up the Netflix account, then maybe you need to have a talk to them and figure out what's actually going on, because things, if they're in that position, it's usually not on their own that they just wake up and decide to change. Sometimes the tough love might have to come into effect for your sake and for theirs. Otherwise, 10 more years, 20 more years. We've had some clients of ours, I think at least twice that I know of, where the family, the parents who are the clients, moved just to get the kid out of their house. As in, they had one house with their adult son, who was like 30, living with them, and they moved, but didn't let him come with them. They purposely downsized to only to a smaller house, fewer bedrooms, just so they didn't have to drag him along with them. And then what was the news we saw? I think it was in New York the past couple of months, where the parents evicted their 30-something-year-old son and had to sue him and all of that. Those are the extreme cases, but it's the kind of planning and knowing what you're getting into. If they're going to move in, make sure you understand what's going to actually be involved in that, so that no one's surprised later on. And it's a matter of protecting both yourself and them, as well as anyone else involved. If they've got a spouse or kids, different stuff involved, try to make sure that you know what you're getting into, and so do they. If there's some expectations for rent, for whatever's going on. It's certainly not saying kick your kids out in the cold or push grandma off the cliff if you're taking care of her. But if you got to take care of your family, and that's definitely an honorable thing, it's something that was drilled into me for my whole life, is take care of your family. Family comes first. You're still a part of the family too. So don't set yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm, because all they're going to ask for is more. And this is in other places too, because with the weddings, it's about, so other numbers here from another place, 4 out of 5 parents are providing some kind of financial support for their adult children. What this means is, if your kids are 16, 17, 18 years old in college, 80% of the time you're on the hook for something coming up just because of where everyone else is statistically. And it's not paying for everything necessarily, but about a third of those, they're paying for the food and groceries for the kids 100%, all the way in full. About 20% paying for the cell phones, about a third in cell phones and paid in full. Usually that one kind of makes sense a lot of the time. It's usually cheaper with a family plan or something like that, where you buy it in bulk and you've got 5 lines. But for your personal situation, you have to look at this, and this is where the budget comes into play and analyzing. If you're actually paying all this for your family just on its own, plus the kid who should be self-sufficient, and also for you planning for retirement and the mortgage and all that, how much are you going to be able to do that, and is that going to be sustainable long term? All right, folks, got a quick break here coming in on your AM 1220 KHTS FM 93.1, your hometown station. This is the Total Financial Hour. This is Logan. We'll be back in a few.
Come join me, Arif Halaby, for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Every Tuesday at noon, we uncover ways to help you manage your money, get out of debt, and prepare for your retirement. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Are you not sure if you can retire yet? Listen to us and learn about tips for savings, retirement strategies, and so much more. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
There is only one language spoken at Thai Dish, and it sounds something like this.
This is great.
Once people get a taste of Thai dishes, there's really no reason to do any more talking. Make it full of flavor, make it delicious, only at Thai Dishes. Enjoy the atmosphere, love the food. Thai Dishes on Valencia Boulevard for free delivery, 253-FOOD. That's 253-FOOD.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
It's never been so easy to have a great night out. Whether it's a date night or girls' night out, experience Pinot's Palette in Valencia or Encino. Order your favorite drink from the bar and paint your very own masterpiece. No art experience needed. Local artists make it easy for you. So you can paint, sip, and listen to great music while creating a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Fun, relaxing, and memorable. Pinot's Palette. To book your party, go to pinotspalette.com. That's pinotspalette.com.
If you're in danger of losing your home to foreclosure, you need an expert. Hi, I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I've helped hundreds of Santa Clarita residents save their homes completely for free. I've got just over 20 years experience and a loan modification success rate of over 80%. I can negotiate better terms with your bank and I can save your home from foreclosure. And again, we do this completely for free. So if you're in any danger, please call me today at 661-714-1400. That number again is 661-714-1400. I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty, and I'll be happy to help you save your home for free.
Do you think taxpayers should pay for politicians' political campaigns? Assembly candidate Christy Smith does. Christy Smith supports raising our taxes. But guess where the money would go? Christy Smith wants to spend as much as $600 million in taxpayer money paying for the annoying mail and TV that politicians bombard us with. Let that sink in. Assembly candidate Christy Smith wants you to pay for political campaigns, even for those politicians you disagree with. Let that sink in. Christy Smith would spend $600 million for politicians instead of better roads or better schools for our kids. Christy Smith is just wrong.
Women deserve equal pay for equal work. It's just that simple. That's what's good about Assemblyman Dante Acosta. Dante Acosta voted to require equal pay for equal work. And Dante Acosta voted to let every child attend pre-kindergarten. That's Dante Acosta. Bipartisan, independent, fair.
Paid for by Dante Acosta for Assembly 2018.
You're going places, and College of the Canyons can get you there. It's not too late to register for fall classes. COC has 5 and 8 week term classes beginning in October and November. Pick up an extra general education class or take a class that piques your interest, like psychology, astronomy, dinosaurs, wines of Spain, and more. Want to take free classes? COC is offering free career skill classes this fall. Visit canyons.edu/class schedule now.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the Total Financial Hour.
Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Hour. Okay, that was Logan Halaby. Thanks for filling in for me. The traffic is always a little fun. Look, the foundation of a family used to be that everybody stayed together. It used to be, at least for my dad's family in Lebanon, it is a very typical microcosm of the way the traditional family would be, which is the parents have a first floor. When their children grow up, they build a second floor, and then they build a third floor. That's why if you go to a lot of third world or second world countries, you'll see rebar sticking out of the roof of their homes. And that's to add the next floor. They have a staircase that seems to kind of just end. Well, it's where the next one would begin. So you'll often see 3, 4, 5 stories. And the purpose for that is simple. It's where the next generation lives. So there wasn't such things as nursing homes or assisted living or child care. Why would I go to work, have a child, go to work, put my kids in a nursery, see them for about, I don't know, between 15 minutes and 2 hours at the most per day so that I could do it again tomorrow? And yet the person who's spending all day with my kids is a hired nanny. Now you'll say, well, Arif, it's so expensive to live in California. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So you can move. Well, I don't want to move. Well, then you put your kids in a nursing home or a nursery. It's one. I guess it's the bookends, nursing home and nursery care. No, look, I understand. I'm being a little bit facetious, but you get the idea that the concept of the family has changed. And now you have children that are staying at home, and instead of being productive, you actually have families. Parents come to me, and I didn't catch this part, Logan, if you shared this earlier, but how parents will move to get away from their kids.
It's they're like being trapped. It feels like a prison, and they're stuck to their kid. Only way to get out of there is to move and leave the kid behind, and good luck.
Yeah, you'll see that often where the children are part of the problem and not the solution. Right? In other words, what you're seeing is children are, instead of being contributory to the family, which is what it used to be like, I'm going to go to work, I give my mom and dad $200 a month for rent so that I can continue to go to school and live for free and help out my parents so my mom and dad could supplement their life. And now it's the opposite. And when you said that the parents are keeping the kids on the insurance, the government told you that your child should be on your health insurance until age 26. That is the most foreign thing to anybody who is not a socialist or a government-run. It's the most abnormal thing. I was married at 23. I was a police officer at 21. I had a gun and badge. My job was to arrest people. I could make the decision of whether or not people were going to go to jail that day. That's a big deal. Right? When that happens, you're saying, don't you worry your pretty little head, because you're still not that mature enough to take care of your own health insurance needs, because the government says you have to be 26, not 18. And yet some cities are making it so that you could vote at 18. Some want to make it 16. Right? Why are they shifting it? Why are they trying to lower it? Because they know that there's an indoctrination that takes place at such a young age. It's not me saying it. I don't go to a public school. I don't go to a public college. It's the parents, it's the children that come. Heaven forbid they should speak up, so they just quiet and they just nod and say, yeah, I'll regurgitate what the professor wants me to say back so I can get an A. But if there's a control or a manipulation of keeping our kids at a young age, I don't know if it's a conspiracy or if it's just a bunch of people thinking the same. But the consequence is now you have a 55, 65, even a 70-year-old person who says, my kids live in the back bedroom and they come out 3 times a day. They think that they should be able to sleep until midnight or till noon. And they stay up well past midnight. And then you ask them, well, I put out a job application. What do we have, 6 million jobs now? 6 million more jobs than people to actually fill them. So that means if you don't have a job, it's because you don't want a job. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You don't have to want to work. But if you're a young person, I had 2 and 3 jobs growing up. Why? Because they were part-time, because nobody wanted to hire me full-time. I wasn't worth that much to anybody. So, okay, well then, give me 2 part-time jobs. And then every once in a while, once or twice a week, I'd work another part-time job. I would work one-offs. Hey, Arif, can you mow my lawn? Hey, can you deliver the newspaper, right? When I was, 11 years old. Hey, can you be somebody who babysits my kids? Can you be somebody who helps me dig a hole for a swimming pool? A gentleman across the street was building a pool. We got to dig a hole because he did it on his own. He was a contractor. Refinish a car down the street. We'd come home, do our homework, and then we had to sand and help him tape and repaint a car. It was a 69 Camaro. Still remember that. In other words, there's always a way to make money if you're interested in looking for work. So if your kids are going to stay at home, you guys, you're spending more money on them than you are even saving for retirement. Your kids have a 50-year horizon to work still. You don't have 50 years to save for retirement. Now, if you think your family structure is like when I started, which is the mom lives downstairs, the grandparents live upstairs, the kids live upstairs, right? Where you have this whole structure, this family structure where everybody go downstairs, have your auntie watch you while I go to the grocery store. That's what it used to be like. Do you need anything from the store? I'm going to go to the store. You watch my kids, I'll go to the store for you. Right? Those kind of things used to happen. And today that's shifting for good or for bad. I just, all of us grew up with our own experiences. But when the mom and dad come home from work and the kids have 2 hours of homework, one of the reasons I pulled my kids out of school was I said, wait a second, what am I paying for you to do again? You're at school for 7 or 8 hours. You're telling me you can't get your work done? You're in second grade. What is it? I mean, I get that there's homework, but I want to be your dad. I didn't want to come home at 7 o'clock or 6:30, have dinner, have you do 2 hours of homework still, then go to bed. So the teacher has a greater influence on you in your life than I do. Well, that's not the way we wanted to do it. This is foreign, maybe even aggressive for some of you, but I think you have to understand that in your financial life, you guys, you don't get a second chance to go back 5 years and make a different decision. This is a big deal. I saw a gentleman earlier at one of our other offices, and I told him I was going to use this on the radio today, and he was okay with it. Certainly I wouldn't use his name. He'd been saving his whole life, long time. He's 56 years old. He and his wife were fortunate. They had some investments. They did pretty well. He's 56. He saved $1.3 million in 2013. It's a big number, way big number. Today, it's 1.32 million. Like, wait a second, what does that mean? Well, it went down, it went up. That means in 5 years, his account has gone up about $200,000. You can take away zeros if it's more mentally understandable. But the fees that he has paid that entire time is somewhere, stay with me, somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 in fees. So he's made $200, and his broker's made $100,000. Now, you have to have an understanding of how money works, because as Logan was saying earlier, you touch money every single day in some form or fashion. A penny if you're a 2-year-old, a debit card if you're 102. Your Social Security check's auto-deposited. It doesn't do us any good to teach your kids that at 26 years old they're still a child, that at 22 they're not supposed to think independently just to regurgitate what the professors say, because heaven forbid there should be diversity of thought on a campus. It's more like diversity of what? Who knows? Whenever a school has dorms that are segregated to particular races, you guys, that's what Martin Luther King fought against. Sitting in the chair I'm sitting in now was Dr. Martin Luther King's niece, Alveda King. We had her on our show, and she said that was one of the most counterproductive thing to eliminate racism ever, is these segregated graduations where you have only African American graduations, or Asian dorms, or white dorms. Are you kidding me? It was supposed to be just the opposite. People died. People marched for the content of their character and not the color of their skin. You see, you can control your character, can't you? You can't control your race. So to think somebody is bad or different or worse than you because of race is the epitome of racism. It's the epitome of disgust. But the character, your choices, the decisions you make, the values you hold, that we can talk about. That we can discuss and say, listen, I'm not comfortable with. I don't like those. But heaven forbid you should disagree with me. Because, oh my gosh. I spoke to a good friend of mine who's very far on the left. Used to be a liberal, now they're leftists, which is beyond liberal, by the way. And they said something that was very fascinating. I said, so how are you raising your kids? We're talking about our kids. And my kids are growing. Everybody's transitioning to that next phase. I was there too. We're talking about that. And he said something that was pretty fascinating to me. He said, part of the challenge of growing up is I want my kids to be colorblind. I said, man, amen, me too. I said, so we've taught our kids that they're Americans first. The nationality of their grandparents is irrelevant. I mean, it's nice. The food is good. We were raised with it. We talk about it. That's great. The culture, let's learn about it. My goodness, that's great. But we're Americans first. And he said, well, in a lot of places that's considered racism and trigger warnings and what do they call it? Dog whistle. I thought, you're kidding me.
Interesting with the term dog whistle. Only one certain group ever seems to hear it when everyone else it's the term American or something.
If you create it where you are the one that interprets it, where you're the only one that sees it, do you realize that you're always going to be right? And when I brought it up to him, I said, it seems that those on the right see the left as wrong and want to work through an argument, like discuss, debate, challenge. They see terrorism and criminals as evil. And he said, that's funny because on the left, we see the right as evil. And we see criminals as misunderstood that we should work with. We see terrorists as those that we should just understand. And I said, well, it's no wonder because the right wants to kill terrorists, right? People that want to hurt the United States. And the left is attacking Steve Scalise on a baseball diamond. The left is yelling at people in elevators because they think that the louder they are, they must be more correct, instead of creating an argument that has facts. You see, mathematically, when you bring it all down to the bottom line, here's what happens. Parents with certain values are forced to support their children who come home with different values. And then there's this war in a family. Have you not seen what takes place when folks talk about their Thanksgiving dinners or their Christmas dinners, their holiday dinners? It's a challenge. I have friends that have lost, that have been disconnected from other parts of their family because they have different beliefs or a different thought system on whatever, immigration or taxes or whatever, health insurance. So that change has really gotten in there and affected America's culture and the fabric. And it seems to be strewn up by the same group. Look, 1 + 1 is 2. Whether you feel like it's 3, whether you want it to be 6, where you believe that Republicans are bad or Democrats are bad, 1 + 1 is 2. It isn't anything to debate. You can really, really, really believe. You can hold a sign. You can scream and yell. You can tie yourself up. You can wear a black hood and cover your face. And 1 + 1 is still 2. So mathematically, when we see this culture that's changing, parents are now forced, socially in some cases and physically in others, through guilt or through intimidation, to continue to support their children in which the values are now divergent. And that can be a challenge for you. Because then you have to make a decision. Do I lose my child or do we just don't talk about that at the dinner table? Which is exactly what Martin Luther King said should never happen. You should always discuss. You should always talk. You should always have nonviolent. It's funny to me today that Martin Luther King would be considered a radical on the right. John F. Kennedy would never fit into the Progressive Party. So I don't know if it's pushing people to the outside. We see the mathematics of it. I see people coming to me and they say, listen, I don't know what to do, but my son, they'll never say it. I said, well, have you talked to your daughter? Nope. I said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. I just go to work. I just stay home. I just leave them alone. And listen, adult parents or parents of adult children, you got to make a decision if you're going to allow them to have a lock on their door. Unless they're paying rent, that is not their property. Now the stuff is, the desk, if they bought the desk, or the bed, if they bought the bed, whatever's in there. But they don't own that piece of real estate. That is yours. You should have the right to come and go. Well, they like privacy. Well, then you know what? Down the street, they're renting a room for $800. Now, if they're paying you rent, that's a different story. They're leasing that spot. I'm okay with that. But other than that, that's not their property, folks. It's yours. Now, listen, you can have people take it from you. There are a lot of weak people, weak in spirit, weak in mind, weak in body, who have given up their rights, who have said, okay, fine, take it. Go ahead. I don't want the fight. I don't want the argument. Well, then you'll lose the stuff, right? That's what bad guys do all the time. They take your stuff. If they're bigger, stronger, faster, then they take your stuff. If you can fight back, then they don't. So that's the challenge that takes place when you're trying to look at how do you build a financial life. When a parent comes to me 2 weeks ago and says, hey, by the way, I need $50,000 from my retirement account. I said, oh my gosh, this is your life savings. What's wrong? They said, oh, well, I need to help my son buy a house. He's newly married. I said, well, why doesn't he buy a house? Well, he doesn't have the money. Then why doesn't he rent a room or rent an apartment? Well, his wife is still in school. Great. Then they need to rent an apartment. Well, I mean, listen, I don't get this forthright with you because when you've made the decision, you've made the decision. But I'm thinking to myself, you're pulling $50,000 from your retirement account, which means you have to pull out about $75 or $80 because you have to pay taxes on it. So now your retirement account drops by $80,000. It's never there. It can never earn interest. It's gone forever. You now give it to your child. Your child now buys a house with it. He didn't earn the money. There's no emotional connection to, oh my gosh, this is my house. When I bought my first house, my wife and I, she was 21, I was 23. We had to move out to, Fraser Park area because that's the only place we could afford. But man, oh man, did I walk by and make sure everything was clean, and I swept that deck. I can't tell you how many times, cleaned up that driveway. It was mine. I worked for it. I knew how much overtime I had to work in order to make sure I could make that $1,100 a month payment. Right? That was a different time. But when somebody gives you something, parents, the biggest mistake I see is when you pull money from your retirement account. You give it to your child for lots of reasons. Guilt is usually one of them, especially if it's a broken family, right? That means divorce. I don't like the word broken because I don't know if that's always the case, but his kids, her kids, my kids, our kids, those kind of things. And sometimes if you're the one especially that was initiating the divorce, that level of guilt transfers to the next generation. And they're not dumb. They know how to manipulate you. So be very cautious if you're going to use that retirement account to satisfy an emotional thing. Because realize it's a cup that you're trying to fill up, but it has huge holes in the bottom. That means right now it's $50,000. Next time it will be more money, and then it will be more, and it will be more, because it drains out the bottom. It will never be enough. And we see that cross over for the young people because they stop appreciating because they didn't work for the money. That's the same thing that happens with inheritance.
And you keep emphasizing the term retirement money, and that's really important. I don't want that to get lost because each dollar has its own job to do. The money in your pocket, that's for lunch today, dinner tomorrow, whatever. The money in your checking account, your savings account, that's for the bills, that's for your emergency fund, what's going on a little bit longer term than today. But then you've got your retirement account. That's supposed to be for, you've guessed it, retirement. That's the longer term that needs to be protected, that has some limitations on it from legal perspective where you get this benefit for the tax deferral status, or depends on what kind of status you have, but it's a little bit more restrictive on what uses it has.
That's right, because the government has created a set of rules, and it said if you use this account for this purpose, we will give you all the benefits that come with it. But if you use your child's college for your emergency account, or you use your retirement account for your child's college, you will be spanked financially. And that penalty is significant. Now, the person receiving the money goes, oh, too bad about that. They don't really care. They don't understand what it took to make that money. You might think that's the best thing for your family. Look, I always say, if you have a bad financial decision and you cover it with an excuse that is God, family, or the right thing to do, then I'm not going to be able to help you. What am I going to say? Go against God, or let's do the wrong thing, or forget your family? Of course not. But most people that make bad financial decisions, that knew they were bad, but they used the excuse for family or God or the right thing to do, then they end up feeling better about it, and the decision was still a poor financial decision. So keep in mind that the concept of building wealth for your family, for the next generation, is so that they'll understand it. Otherwise, you're going to create somebody. It's like they say, creating a monster, right? You have a young child who's 4 years old, and if they get everything they want, you have seen them in the grocery store, right? They interrupt everybody's day of grocery shopping. You have seen them at the movie theater when they're 12, and they put their feet on people's chair, and you say, hey, don't put your feet on my chair. What are you? You're not my boss. Really? You know how quickly our generation would have been backhanded? Right or wrong, there was a different level of respect. And now all of a sudden that 4-year-old, a 12-year-old is an 18, is a 26, is a 35. And you wonder, when they now inherit money from you, why they self-destruct financially. It isn't because they're bad, it's because they never had any respect for what it took to make it. So be very careful if you're going to pass on inheritance. We'll come back in just a minute as we do. We're going to get into parents that are spending twice as much on their adult children than they ever planned on it, number one, and certainly more than they're saving for retirement. We'll be back in just a minute. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Logan. On your place for news, talk, and information. This is the Total Financial Hour on your hometown station. We'll be right back.
There's nothing like a handmade original created with passion from the heart. Celebrating all things unique, the Harvest Festival Original Art and Craft Show at the Ventura County Fairgrounds, Friday through Sunday, October 5th through 7th. Shop over 24,000 original works from hundreds of artists. Enjoy live entertainment, a kids zone, and pumpkin patch, strolling performers, contests, specialty foods, demonstrations, and more. Visit harvestfestival.com or call 925-392-7300.
Life's not meant to feel complacent. It's meant to make you feel alive. The youth ministry at the Church on the Way Santa Clarita believes that students can belong to the group where we will help them believe they have a purpose in Christ and become all that He has created them to be. We want to see God's power come alive in our generation. We love meeting new people, so come hang out with us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and service starts at 7 every Wednesday night. For more information about the Church on the Way Santa Clarita, including service times and what's happening through the end of the year, visit tcotwsc.org.
Did you know that nearly 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence in her lifetime? And in Santa Clarita, our community supports its own domestic violence center with a shelter home, 24-hour crisis hotline, and bilingual counseling programs. If you or someone you know needs help, we're here. The 24-hour crisis hotline number is 259-HELP. For more information, go to dvcsantaclarita.com. Because no one should tolerate domestic violence. 259-HELP.
Visiting Angels is looking for quality caregivers and companions to join our growing team of compassionate, caring people providing care and assistance to Santa Clarita seniors. Our Angels help seniors with activities such as meal preparation, light housekeeping, personal care, and running errands. Visiting Angels takes pride in offering competitive wages, benefits, paid training, and flexible schedules. We have clients throughout Santa Clarita so you can work close to home. Details at visitingangels.com/Santa Clarita.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
It's allergy season again. You've tried it all, yet your sinuses continue to be a problem. Try something different, something holistic, something that will really work. Acupuncture. Kathleen Keneally is Santa Clarita's acupuncture and innate specialist. She's been treating many of your neighbors and their children for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and pain. Find out how acupuncture can improve the quality of your life. Call Kathleen Keneally for a free phone consultation. 252-4100. 252-4100. Acupuncture. It really works.
Visiting Angels is looking for quality caregivers and companions to join our growing team of compassionate, caring people providing care and assistance to Santa Clarita seniors. Our Angels help seniors with activities such as meal preparation, light housekeeping, personal care, and running errands. Visiting Angels takes pride in offering competitive wages, benefits, paid training, and flexible schedules. We have clients throughout Santa Clarita so you can work close to home. Details at visitingangels.com/Santa Clarita.
Angels, America's choice in home care. Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the Total Financial Hour. Now higher income strategy.
All right, we're back. Thank you for staying with us on this hour of the program. A little intense, isn't it? Have you decided which child you're going to kick out yet? Which one doesn't help, doesn't pick up after the dog, who doesn't take out the trash? That's the one. I already made the decision for you. See that? We're a show of responsibilities.
Multi-talented.
We are. All right, planning mistakes. What are some of the planning mistakes that we see? When I talk about retirement, guys, we're not just talking about retirement dollars. But you also have health care as a part of it. You also have your residence, where you live, the kind of car you drive. That next phase in life could be different in a lot of ways. Think of it like this. You might have an amazing sports car when you're 45 or 50 or 55 years old, low to the ground, it's exciting and all of that. But when you turn 65 or 70, maybe it's more difficult to get in and out, maybe with backs and knees. So in other words, is the car wrong, or just the time in your life just not appropriate for that vehicle? It's the same thing with the kind of risk in your retirement accounts. Our number is 888-99-RETIRE. It comes right here to the station as well. 888-99-RETIRE. What do we talk about when it comes to the risk? When you're young and your food, shelter, clothing comes from your job, right? Your job is your income that allows you to live, pays for the rest of your life. Your retirement accounts are off to the side. You might say when you're 20 or 25 years out from retirement, I can afford some big risk. Because even if I lose 20 or 30%, it's going to stink, it's horrible, but I can make some of it back. I have 20 years to get some of it back. Now, there's no guarantee it comes back. However, that's kind of the plan. Here's the problem. The problem is when you get 10, 15 years out from retirement and you haven't started reducing some of the risk, then you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to give up when I'm ready to retire? Am I willing to give up the food, shelter, clothing? Probably not. Am I willing to give up my health care? I hope not. So it might be that you're willing to give up your freedom and go back to work. So keep in mind that if the process for you is to create a source of income that never runs out regardless of what happens, then you want to have some safety built into your retirement accounts. Taking into account that who cares what happens to the economy, you can protect some or part of your money off to the side, get guaranteed rates of return, get guaranteed sources of income. There's different things that you can do, different places to put it. And part of that is to have almost like a healthcare account built in. Something that can either help offset either some or all of your income expenses that are related to healthcare. So having a special account, Logan, we've talked about this, have it built up, you're sitting it there, let it grow, and when you're ready to retire, part of that money can come out and pay for your health insurance or your health expenses.
Exactly, and this is one thing that is often overlooked, where who provides your insurance right now? If you're in a lot of places, that's your employer.
Right.
And you have to be able to budget that for when you're no longer with that employer. You're retired, congratulations, riding off into the sunset, but some of those perks from your job, sure, you don't have to pay for dry cleaning anymore or paying for your commute, but if they paid for your health insurance or phone bill or something like that, maybe you have to make sure you account for that going forward.
Yeah, that becomes your new expense out of your pocket, whereas yesterday it was supplemented by your employer. A lot of people don't realize, you see, your employer pays special taxes just to employ you. It's called payroll tax. And if you remember right, the state of California, if you've listened to some of our past shows, in 2015, the state of California, all run by one political party, borrowed money from the federal government and from other places. They were unable to pay it back. So they went to everybody who had a business or a company that was located in the state of California and charged additional tax. And they said, for every person that you employ, we want an extra $150. So employers had to pay in order to keep their employees. So they paid $150. At that point in time, Toyota took all of its business and started looking. And they moved. They moved everything from California, basically, to where? Well, they moved it to Texas, mostly, other states. Their headquarters that was once down by LAX, the airport, is gone. They moved Frito-Lay, Pepsi, and hundreds of businesses left after that because they said, if California can't fix this, we're out of here. And they left. Well, the next year it was $175 per employee. That was 2017. They still didn't pay it back, and Nestle took all of its business and hundreds of other companies, and they left California. Nestle went to Virginia. Other companies left. The movie industry said, we're moving a big part of our business outside of California. So they said, well, at least we're going to get it together. Don't worry. Well, in 2017, they didn't pay it back. So when 2018 came, you guessed it, $200 per employee is what it cost to keep an employee in the state of California. Now, if you are one of those employees, if you work for a restaurant or a groceries chain or a small business or a big company, you don't even know that this happened. You don't even care. You're like, whatever, give me my $15 an hour pay raise. Give me my free money. I exist, therefore I deserve. You guys are rich, which means you're bad. Does that sound familiar? Radical? Or is that what your money that you kept from going into your retirement accounts, and you said, I'm going to help pay for my child's college, and they come back thinking that you're rich, you're bad. Now you go, Arif, that's so aggressive. Oh my gosh, when you call me at 888-99-RETIRE or you send me an email, I'll cite you dozens of places where that information exists. Because the concept of creating wealth is hostile to the state of California and its far left wing. Right? They're not even liberal. It's the far left wing running the party here in the state. And when that takes place, what happens? More companies leave. And when more companies leave, so do some of the jobs that you thought were pretty good, like the $35 an hour manufacturing job. Those are no longer in the state of California. Service jobs are, so the super wealthy can have people wash their cars. But the actual middle income, folks that are working every day 50, 40, 50 hours a week, $50, $60, $70 an hour jobs, manufacturing jobs, they're gone. The people that are creating things. How do you pay for teachers? Does a student pay? Of course not. They're paid through tax dollars. How do you pay for College of the Canyons? How does Diane Van Hook make $400,000 a year? One of the highest in the nation, not the state, the nation. How does she do that? And I don't mean highest like of community colleges. I mean, you guys, we pay that chancellor $400,000 a year. That has to cause you to go, wait a second, that's taxpayer money. Oh, well, if you just don't understand, there's revenue. I get it. But her product, they're not making a widget for $1 and selling it for $2. Go to Transparent California. It's a simple search engine search. Put in College of the Canyons and look at the top, I don't know, pick a number, 20. The top wages of the top 20, millions of dollars. And there's 150-something employees. I'm not saying they're bad. In fact, I think it's one of the best community colleges in the country. What I'm saying is the way that they receive their revenue is from taxes. And when you are punishing the people that are paying the taxes, they can and do move. And when they do move, they take your job with them. It isn't like it's a game where you say, oh, well, we got you, you're stuck. No, I was with somebody earlier this morning. He has a business. He employs 8 people, not a big company. And he said, Arif, when our lease is up in 2 years and 11 months, he knew the time, we are leaving the state of California and taking our business with us. I said, wow, where are you going? He said, I'm not sure yet. We're going to spend the next 2 years looking. Do you realize that's people, when my mom and dad were married and they drove to California, it was the place of opportunity. Not a guarantee. Place of opportunity. When I went to San Francisco a few months back, forgive me if you're eating lunch, but there was human waste everywhere. There were needles everywhere. They would leave out food like they do for cats and dogs, right? Leave out food in these to-go containers just along retaining walls and sidewalks and at park benches. I thought, oh, somebody walked away without, taking their leftovers. They got on the bus. No. Instead of solving the problem, they make it worse. And those are all far left ideas, you guys. You don't pick a city in the country that's messed up. I don't care. Pick it. Detroit, Chicago. It doesn't matter to me. They're all run by the same group. I don't know why they think that's a good idea. I don't know that answer. But I do know that if you plan on retiring in California, there will be fewer of you that are making higher income. And in my opinion, they will tax you at a much higher rate. I think they're going to make big inroads into changing Prop 13. Because what can you not take out of California? You can't take the property, the real estate. You can take the job. You can take the income. You can take your retirement account. You can take your pension. So taxing any of that is going to be very difficult. But you can't take the real estate. When we went to go register a car the other day, Logan, it said $196, I believe. That was a car registration.
In addition to, there's now the licensing fee, which is, of course, separate from the registration.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that.
Oh, just another $180.
It's a very expensive little sticker they send you to put on the...
Oh, yeah, but don't worry, because then there was another little fee and another fee and another fee. So by the time you're done to register a 10 or 12-year-old car, you're looking at $400, $450, $460, $480. Why is it that they think it's okay to chase you, born and raised some of you, for generations? Why is it okay for them to chase you out of the state? I think you need to stand up, you guys. I think enough of us are getting sick and tired. You see what Gavin Newsom did to the state of California as a lieutenant governor. He didn't stand up for you. You see what he did to it when he was the mayor of San Francisco, ran it into the ground. It was a beautiful place. Now they have an 800 number for people to go and collect human waste. If you see it, you dial this. In fact, they have an app where you can walk through, and if you see where there's human waste, you push a button. It alerts the city workers, more government workers. And don't worry, because those people are paid, guess what? Are you ready? Between $160,000 and $180,000 a year to show up in the little spaceman suits. Because I asked one of the workers, I said, oh, gosh, what do you guys do? This guy went to the restroom right outside your door. We had to walk around him. They said, well, we just have an 800 number that we can call him and get somebody here right away. I thought, wow. When did that become humane? If you guys are going to stay in this state, you better start fighting, because nobody else is going to care. You understand that? When you rob Peter to pay Paul, you heard that old saying, rob Peter to pay Paul? That means you take from one credit card or one bill and you say, this time I'm paying this one, and this time I'm paying this one. Whenever you rob Peter to pay Paul, you're always going to have Paul's support. He thinks it's a good idea to get paid. He doesn't care about the other guy. So the people that are getting stuff for free that think 26 is a pretty good year, but yeah, that's pretty good. I think health insurance for kids aren't really, adults until after 26. When you think that it's okay to tax somebody and run a business out of the state, of course you're getting something for free. You guys, if you're taking on your adult children, you're going to need as much help as you can. And planning and math and the formulas that it takes to make it work are going to get more difficult if the taxes continue to grow up. And the expenses, $4 a gallon gas, you understand. So I hope you fight for you and your family, because somebody has to. I hope you stand up. Do your own research. Today, information is everywhere. Wisdom, no. Knowledge, yes. Until wisdom can catch up with knowledge, we're going to continue to make some silly mistakes. Thanks for listening. I'm Arif Halaby on the Total Financial Hour. That's Logan on your hometown station, KHTS.
KHTS, AM 1220.